Valeria Marquez, a 23-year-old Mexican beauty influencer, was tragically shot and killed during a TikTok live stream.
May 13th, 2025, Zapopan, Mexico. Valeria Marquez sat in her beauty salon, holding a pink stuffed animal, chatting with her TikTok followers. A few minutes later, her life ended, broadcast live to thousands. What began as a normal live stream quickly turned into a tragedy, a chilling example of Mexico's ongoing femicide crisis. Valeria Marquez was living the social media dream. At just 23, she'd built a loyal following of nearly 200,000 fans across TikTok and Instagram. Her content was all about beauty, travel, and the glamorous life of a young influencer. But on May 13th, 2025, while streaming live from her Zapopan beauty salon, that dream became a nightmare, seen by thousands. The day started like any other in Valeria's world. She opened Blossom the Beauty Lounge, a business she'd built after years of grinding as a model and content creator. Her TikTok was filled with makeup tutorials, travel vlogs, and behind-the-scenes glimpses of influencer life. But as the afternoon wore on, something felt off. Earlier in the day, a man had come by the salon with what he claimed was an expensive gift. He insisted he could only deliver it to Valeria in person. That request set off alarm bells. Maybe they were gonna kill me. Were they gonna come and take me away or what? She joked nervously on her live stream, trying to brush off the unsettling feeling. But the danger wasn't just a feeling, it was very real. Security cameras captured two men arriving at the salon on a motorcycle. One waited outside as a lookout while the other entered, posing as a deliveryman. The trap was set. Inside, Valeria tried to keep the mood light on her stream. She held up a pink stuffed pig, chatted with viewers, and did her best to shake off the anxiety. But when a man's voice called out, "Hey, are you Valeria?" she responded with a cautious, "Yes," and everything changed in an instant. The next moments were broadcast live to her followers. A gunshot rang out. Valeria grabbed her chest and belly, collapsing into her chair. The camera shook violently, catching only a brief, blurry glimpse of an unknown face before the stream ended.
He struck her once in the chest and twice in the head. The young influencer died instantly, and her final moments were witnessed by viewers on TikTok.
Her killer didn't even know her. Prosecutors believe he was a paid hitman, hired to execute Valeria for reasons still unknown. The evidence was clear in the security footage and the chilling final moments of her live stream. It was a calculated assassination, not a crime of passion. Outside, the accomplice waited on his motorcycle. The gunman fled the salon, hopped on the back, and they sped away into the Zapopan streets, vanishing into the chaos of Mexico's ongoing femicide crisis. The investigation was immediate and intense. Police swarmed the scene. Forensic teams combed through Blossom the Beauty Lounge, collecting evidence and reviewing security footage. The Jalisco prosecutor's office launched a full-scale manhunt for the motorcycle-riding killers. But Zapopan is no stranger to violence. It's one of Jalisco's wealthiest areas, but also one of its most dangerous. Drug money flows through its luxury malls and high-rise condos. The cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación controls much of the territory, and violence is a daily reality. More than 15,000 people have disappeared from the state since 2018.
Is, of course, a gender-based crime, often involving intimate partners or the extreme violence. Moments before the attack, Valeria in fact appeared unsettled during a live stream, mentioning someone had...
Authorities quickly classified Valeria's murder as a femicide, a gender-based killing that has become epidemic in Mexico. 10 women are murdered every day in the country, often with little justice or accountability. Her death brought renewed attention to the crisis, particularly given its public and digital nature. But the investigation faced challenges from day one. The killer's meticulous planning left few immediate leads. The motorcycle getaway was a classic cartel tactic. Security footage provided some clues, but the assailants disappeared into the city's labyrinth of safe houses and criminal networks.
Ya viene.
Later on, clutching a pink stuffed animal, Marquez looks out of frame before saying, "They're coming."
As the days passed, more disturbing details emerged. Valeria had reportedly received threats before her murder. Some messages from her social media suggested she feared for her life, even naming an ex-partner as a potential threat. But the professional nature of the hit pointed to organized crime, not a jealous lover. The Jalisco prosecutor's office began calling witnesses, friends, family, and employees, searching for any connection to the killers. They reviewed Valeria's recent business dealings, social media interactions, and personal relationships. But as weeks turned into months, the case stalled. The professional execution left little physical evidence. Witnesses feared speaking up in cartel-controlled territory. The investigation hit the same wall as thousands of other femicide cases in Mexico, a 95% impunity rate for gender-based murders. Valeria's social media accounts became memorials. Her final posts, selfies, beauty tips, and travel shots stood in stark contrast to the violence of her death. Followers flooded her comments with grief and outrage. The pink pig plushie became a symbol of her stolen innocence. But the killer's message was clear. No one is safe, not even on camera. Valeria's public execution was a warning to others in the influencer world. The cartel's reach extends everywhere, even into the digital realm. Her murder became a rallying cry for justice. Women's rights groups protested, demanding an end to the femicide epidemic. Influencers across Mexico spoke out, sharing stories of violence and intimidation. But the system remained broken, corrupt, underfunded, and overwhelmed by bloodshed.
The prosecutor's office has not named a suspect, but said the killing is being investigated as a possible femicide, an intentional murder of a woman due to her gender.
But her story sparked a movement. Influencers began speaking out about the threats and harassment they faced. Women's groups organized new protests and awareness campaigns. Valeria's final live stream exposed not just her murder, but the rot at the heart of Mexico's justice system. Her death was no longer just another statistic. It was a call to action, broadcast live for all to see. Valeria Marquez's final video was meant to be playful, but it instead captured her last living moments in a heartbreaking twist. In the next case, a young woman's TikTok took a tragic turn, as a moment of fun ended with disaster unfolding on camera.
Me pegas 2 tiros, yo te los pido. Pero no leo, por ahorita no, déjame que te explote. 2 tiros me pegas en la cabeza. Pero me vas a matar de uno, no quiero sufrir. 2 en la cabeza.
On July 26, 2025, Kayla Andreina Gonzalez's home in Guayaquil, Ecuador, became the stage for a shocking act of violence that played out in real time before her followers and the world. Kayla Andreina Gonzalez Mercado, a 28-year-old TikTok creator, was drinking with friends. She joked, laughed, and teased, all while tens of thousands watched live. But what her audience witnessed next would become one of the most disturbing moments in true crime internet history. As the camera rolled, Kayla turned to her friend's partner, Manuel Andres Alava Lazaro. At first, their banter felt playful, almost like an inside joke between two people who'd known each other for years. But there was an edge to Kayla's words, a dare, a challenge, maybe even a test of loyalty. Kayla's tone shifted abruptly as she realized this wasn't a joke. Her voice, once full of bravado, now trembled with fear. She shouted Manuel's name, begging him to stop, but the camera kept rolling, capturing every second of her growing panic. The confrontation ended in less than a minute, but the impact would last forever. Manuel drew his weapon and fired twice. The camera tumbled to the ground, broadcasting those final chaotic moments to every corner of the internet. In the aftermath, Kayla's friend, who witnessed everything, ended the live stream and rushed to inform her family. The news spread like wildfire across social media, with viewers struggling to process what they'd just seen. Police launched an immediate manhunt for Manuel. He fled the scene on a motorcycle and vanished. Authorities soon discovered his troubling past, 4 previous convictions for robbery, and a pattern of violent behavior. Witnesses described his distinctive tattoos, a teardrop on his face, and a rifle on his neck, marks associated with gang and prison culture. Kayla's family struggled to comprehend the tragedy. To them, she was a joker who loved being called chubby. In her final TikTok post, she wrote about her goals. to be a good woman, walk with God, and live humbly without harming anyone. Friends remembered her beautiful soul, strong character, mischievous look, and unforgettable smile. Media coverage quickly turned to the broader issue of femicide in Ecuador. Keela's death became a symbol of violence against women, sparking outrage and calls for justice. The live stream footage, both horrifying and undeniable, served as stark evidence of her final moments. As authorities continue their search for Manuel, Keela's story serves as a warning about the dangers of live streaming and the unpredictable nature of violence. Her death, captured in real time, forced viewers to confront the dark reality behind social media's polished surface. But the horror didn't end with the live stream. It spread across platforms, forcing society to question its relationship with violence, entertainment, and accountability. The investigation remains open. Manuel is still at large, his whereabouts unknown. But Keela's story will never fade from memory. Her live stream, once a source of entertainment, now stands as stark evidence in a case that shocked the world. Coming up next, an activist used his live stream to speak out, but instead of ending with words, it captured his shocking final moments after violence struck. June 22, 2025, Maracay, Venezuela. A Sunday afternoon turned deadly as Gabriel Jesus Sarmiento, a 25-year-old TikTok activist, went live to his 77,000 followers. The broadcast began with tension as Jesus, visibly agitated, spoke directly to the camera about the threats he'd received. What happened next would ignite a firestorm across social media and expose the deadly intersection of crime, corruption, and online activism in Venezuela. Jesus was no ordinary influencer. His TikTok account focused on documenting gang violence, police corruption, and the powerful criminal organizations plaguing Venezuela. He'd become a target by exposing the dark underbelly of Maracay, the capital of Aragua State and namesake of the notorious Tren de Aragua gang. But what made his case different was the raw, unfiltered violence broadcast live to thousands.
Sedín, ustedes que me llamaron ahorita, el William Alejo me está llenando la casa, el comisario del TCDO, enviado por Ricky José y Yunaka J. Montesinos, Sedín.
In his final moments, Jesus called out specific names: police officials, gang members, and those he believed were complicit in the threats against him. He didn't hold back, directly accusing high-ranking officers and criminal elements of working together. These were not empty accusations. Jesus had documented evidence, photos, videos, and testimony, exposing the collusion between corrupt police and organized crime. But the threats had become more serious in recent weeks. Jesus had reported receiving direct warnings from both gang members and allegedly corrupt officers. He knew he was a marked man, but refused to back down. He described Venezuela as overrun with delinquent officials who work with common criminals. The live stream captured every moment of the attack. A woman can be heard screaming off camera, later identified as Jesus' mother, who was wounded in the abdomen during the assault. Jesus shouts, "What happened? What happened?" followed by a burst of gunfire. His desperate cry, "They shot me! They shot me!" echoes through the chaos as blood pools on the floor. Two armed men appear briefly on camera before the stream ends abruptly. The attack wasn't random. Jesus' family claims he was shot over 9 times, a brutal execution designed to send a message. His death came less than a month after another Latin American influencer was killed during a live stream. Mexican beauty influencer Valeria Marquez was shot in a salon in Jalisco. The pattern was clear. Social media activism had become a new front in the battle against organized crime and corruption. The evidence was undeniable. The live stream footage showed the armed assailants, clearly linking them to the murder. The Venezuelan Attorney General immediately launched an investigation, assigning the 69th Prosecutor's Office against Organized Crime to the case. But many questioned whether justice would truly be served in a system so deeply compromised by the very corruption Jesus had exposed. Jesus' murder sent shockwaves through the activist community. He had become a symbol of resistance against both criminal gangs and corrupt officials. His fearless documentation of abuse and collusion had inspired others to speak out, but now served as a stark warning about the price of truth-telling in Venezuela. Attorney General Tarek William Saab's statement was clear. The Public Prosecutor's Office will investigate, identify, and punish those responsible for the assassination of Jesus Sarmiento. But to many, these words rang hollow in a country where justice is often elusive, especially when it involves powerful criminal elements and corrupt officials. The investigation quickly revealed the complex web of threats Jesus had faced. He had publicly documented the intimidation from both organized crime-structured groups and allegedly corrupt police. His TikTok account was filled with evidence, photos, videos, and testimony of police extortion and gang activity. The contrary. Jesus Sarmiento's livestream ended in horror, turning a moment of activism into a recording of his final breath as violence unfolded before countless viewers. But if you thought it couldn't get worse, well, coming up in the next story, a popular content creator's broadcast came to an abrupt end when he was brutally attacked on camera, his final moments unfolding in front of his stunned audience.
这不是什么博莱雅吗？欧莱雅吧？
欧莱雅的欧不是在前面，不然他的莱在前面。
On December 4th, 2022, the bustling Indrachuk market in Kathmandu was alive with energy as 3 friends, 2 men, and 1 woman walked through the narrow streets, streaming their day to millions of viewers back home in China. Gan Suzhong, known to his 5 million fans as Fatty Goes to Africa, was in high spirits, cracking jokes and discussing his future. Little did anyone know that this would be his final broadcast. It started casually, with friendly banter among the group as they navigated the market. There was laughter about marriage prospects, with one friend joking, "Xiaopeng, you should marry Xi Yi." The conversation was light, the atmosphere relaxed. Gan, referred to by his nickname Xiaopeng, responded with typical good humor, completely unaware of the danger lurking ahead. As they moved further into the market, the conversation turned to more personal matters. One companion revealed, "He asked me to be the matchmaker for him," referencing Gan's desire to find a partner. It was a moment that humanized the popular blogger, showing a vulnerable side rarely seen by his audience. The tension was barely noticeable as they discussed local vendors and other internet celebrities. Gan asked,
"Where are the internet celebrities?"
possibly referencing fellow content creators in the area. The group paused at a vendor, with Gan inquiring,
"Is it good to drink?"
about a local beverage. These were the final moments of normalcy before everything changed. Suddenly, chaos erupted. A loud crash broke the peace, followed by high-pitched screams and violent camera movement. The livestream captured the panic as the camera shook wildly, then dropped to the ground, showing a drainage grate with a reddish liquid, likely blood. The audio cut off abruptly, ending the broadcast and marking the tragic end of Gan's journey. Bystanders rushed to help as Gan lay in the street, bleeding from stab wounds to his chest and stomach. Witnesses described seeing him clutching his abdomen, signaling desperately for someone to call for help. His companion, Li Shusun, also severely wounded in the stomach, collapsed nearby. Paramedics arrived quickly, transporting both victims to the National Trauma Center. Despite their efforts, Gan succumbed to his injuries, while Li remained in critical condition. As the investigation unfolded, details emerged about the bitter feud between the 2 influencers. Fong, a 37-year-old living in Nepal, reportedly harbored deep resentment towards Gan's success. The exact nature of their disputes remained unclear, but it was evident that jealousy and unresolved financial issues played a significant role in the tragic outcome. News of Gan's murder spread rapidly across Chinese social media platforms. His 5 million followers expressed shock and grief, sharing clips from his final live stream and remembering his contributions to Chinese culinary culture. The incident sparked a wider conversation about the dangers of live streaming and the growing tensions within the influencer community. With overwhelming evidence, including the live-streamed footage, authorities quickly built their case against Fong. The trial became a media spectacle, drawing attention to the darker side of internet fame. Witness testimonies and forensic evidence left little doubt about Feng's guilt, leading to a swift conviction. Gan Suzhong's death marked a tragic end to a promising career that brought Chinese cuisine and culture to a global audience. His final live stream served as a stark reminder of the unpredictable dangers that could arise from internet fame and personal rivalries. The case continued to resonate within the influencer community, prompting discussions about safety, mental health, and the responsibilities that came with a large online following. But if you thought this was shocking, wait until you hear about the next case. A refugee Christian influencer, speaking faith and hope in his live stream, was brutally stabbed in front of his viewers during his final broadcast. The night of September 10, 2025 ended in tragedy that shocked Lion and reverberated throughout the global Christian community. The TikTok livestream began like any other. Asher Sarnaya, a 45-year-old Assyrian Christian, was speaking to his followers about faith, a routine he'd developed since arriving in France as a refugee. Born in 1979 in Ankawa, Iraq, Sarnaya had known persecution long before he ever picked up his phone to broadcast. The Islamic State's advance in 2014 forced him and his sister to flee their homeland, eventually settling in Lyon's 9th arrondissement. Yet, even in supposed safety, his outspoken faith would make him a target once again. Asher wasn't your typical social media personality. Disabled and reliant on a wheelchair, he used TikTok to connect with both Christian and Muslim viewers across the Middle East and Europe. His content was bold, often including critiques of radical Islamic ideologies, regular prayer sessions, and Arabic language testimonies. This approach drew both admiration and, increasingly, dangerous attention. In March 2025, Sarnaya survived a physical attack that he attributed to his activism. Death threats came via comments, private messages, and anonymous calls. His account faced repeated suspension due to coordinated mass reporting, but Asher pressed on, determined to share his message regardless of the risks. That September evening, as he returned home to 53 Rue Sergent-Michel Berthet, his phone was broadcasting live to followers around the world. What happened next played out in real time for viewers who would later become witnesses in the investigation. A hooded figure, or perhaps three, as some reports claim, waited in the shadows near his building. As the wheelchair approached, the attacker struck, slashing at Asher's neck with a blade. The livestream captured the horror. Sarnaya's sudden cry, blood pouring from his nose and mouth, and his collapse in his wheelchair. Viewers watched helplessly as the screen faded to chaos. Emergency services arrived quickly, but Asher was already gone due to cardiac arrest caused by the brutal stab wound. His sister, alerted by frantic calls from friends watching the stream, rushed home only to find police and paramedics already on site. French authorities launched an immediate investigation, but progress was slow. Conflicting witness accounts complicated the case. Some insisted there were 3 attackers. Others saw only one. CCTV footage provided limited clues. The assailants, dressed in dark clothing with hoods, vanished into the night. The reaction was swift and widespread. Catholic organizations condemned the murder of a man in a vulnerable situation. The president of the Assyrian Chaldean Association of Lyon described him as a very kind, discreet person, deeply believing who liked to speak about the Christian faith. SOS Chrétien d'Orient called Sarnaya's death martyrdom and demanded justice for religious minorities. Politicians seized on the tragedy. Marine Le Pen blamed France's immigration policies, claiming they allowed persecutors to follow refugees. Far-right figures pointed to Sarnaya's criticism of radical Islam as the likely motive, while others urged caution until the investigation concluded. The Christian community, especially among Iraq's refugees, was devastated. Many had fled ISIS's genocidal campaign only to see persecution follow them to Europe. Lyon's Chaldean and Assyrian diaspora held vigils and demanded stronger protections for vulnerable minorities. Social media erupted with hashtags like Asher Sarnaya and Justice for Asher. Clips from his final live stream circulated alongside earlier videos showing him singing hymns with quiet joy. The contrast between those peaceful moments and his violent end was stark. The investigation remains ongoing, with authorities exploring multiple angles, including religious extremism, personal vendettas, or links to local criminal activity. But one thing is clear: Asher Sarnaya's murder was not an isolated incident. It marked the 401st anti-Christian attack in France that year alone, part of a disturbing trend targeting religious minorities. Today, Asher's message endures. His cousin called him a martyr, saying, "He spent his last moments doing exactly what he loved, spreading the gospel. His faith will always be an inspiration." The community he served now fights for justice in his name, determined that his sacrifice won't be forgotten. But if you think Asher Sarnaya's story was tragic, the next case reveals how social media can turn from a tool of connection into a stage for disaster in the most unexpected ways. On a bright Istanbul afternoon on August 20th, 2021, Kubra Dogan, a 23-year-old, danced playfully on a rooftop. Her laughter echoed across the skyline as friends cheered her on, filming her every move for a TikTok video. At that moment, it seemed like just another day of youthful fun and social media creation. But beneath their feet, the roof held a dangerous secret. Kubra had traveled to Istanbul from her hometown, visiting her cousin and family. A simple day visit turned into an impromptu social media shoot. The group climbed onto the apartment's rooftop terrace, chasing the perfect background for their next viral TikTok. The city stretched beneath them, unaware of the tragedy about to unfold. As the camera rolled, Kubra moved toward a section of the rooftop covered in what appeared to be sturdy material, but it was just a thin sheet of plastic, weakened by years of weather. In an instant, it gave way beneath her weight. The footage abruptly cut from laughter to horror. Kubra disappeared from view, falling through the roof to the apartment below. Her friends' screams filled the audio, the shock and terror captured in real time. The fall was catastrophic. Reports later confirmed she plummeted from a height of about 50 meters, nearly 165 feet. The impact was fatal. Rescue teams arrived swiftly, but there was nothing anyone could do. What made this tragedy even more haunting was that the entire accident was captured on camera. The footage, intended for social media glory, instead became a grim warning. The video, now evidence, was replayed in slow motion by authorities and investigators. Each frame was scrutinized, showing exactly how quickly and unexpectedly life could change. Kubra's family was devastated. Her cousin, who filmed the tragic moment, was inconsolable. What began as a fun day of creating content ended in unimaginable loss. The aftermath spread quickly through Turkish media and social platforms. News outlets reported on the accident, emphasizing the dangers of risky behavior for social media content. The footage served as a stark warning, not just about rooftop dangers, but about the unforeseen consequences of chasing viral fame. Local authorities launched an immediate investigation. Questions arose about building safety and maintenance. Engineers inspected the building, finding multiple safety violations. The property owner faced intense scrutiny for failing to maintain proper barriers and warning signs. Legal proceedings began, focusing on negligence and building code violations. Kubra's story spread beyond Turkey. International media outlets picked up the tragedy, using it as a cautionary tale about social media's dangerous side. Safety experts emphasize the importance of proper precautions, especially when filming in unconventional locations. In the weeks following the accident, Kubra's family received an outpouring of support. Friends and strangers alike mourned the loss of a bright young woman. Her social media accounts became memorial pages, filled with messages of grief and warnings to others about safety. Her tragic accident was used in workshops and safety training, showing the very real dangers behind seemingly innocent filming locations. But perhaps the most lasting impact was the way her story changed how people viewed social media stunts. Her final video, intended for TikTok fame, instead became a powerful warning about the high price of viral content. As the world moved forward, Kubra's legacy was clear. Her story stood as a permanent reminder. Behind every viral video was a real person, and no amount of online attention was worth risking your life. What happened on that rooftop in Istanbul was more than just a tragic accident. It was a turning point in the conversation about social media safety, building responsibility, and the true cost of viral fame.